Tottenham Hotspurs currently sit 18th on the Premier League table, officially in the relegation zone. They are yet to win a Premier League match in 2026, and their chances to survive in the top tier of English football is diminishing with every passing week. When they won the Europa League last season, the first trophy in 17 years, and sealing a Champions League slot even after finishing 17th in the Premier League, fans thought that the only way the club could go was up. But things turned out to be completely different. With just 5 Premier League fixtures remaining, including trips to Villa Park and Stamford Bridge, Spurs getting relegated is not a joke anymore, but a glaring possibility. All jokes aside, Spurs are still one of the best teams in England and are considered a part of the Premier League's Big Six. So a club of this stature struggling so much to be in a relegation battle is quite a surprise. Now the question arises, what exactly will happen if Tottenham do end up getting relegated to the Championship? Before we proceed further, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support will help us bring more such videos in future. Now let's get back to the video. A possible relegation will have a huge negative impact on the club itself and its players, along with their rivals and the Premier League overall. Spurs have high quality players in multiple positions, and you can be rest assured that the majority of these players will not be willing to play in the Championship and would leave to join top tier clubs. Players like Christian Romero, Xavi Simons, James Maddison, Mickey van de Ven are all far too good to be playing in the second division of English football. Moreover, all of these players have a relegation clause in their contracts, which states that in case of a relegation, their salaries will be reduced by 50%. These players would much rather leave than stick around playing second division football on half the wages, and even at 50%, their wages would be higher than what the club could possibly pay while being in the championship. The sad part is, Spurs will have to sell their top players at much lower prices than their actual market value, as they will be out of options but to sell them, since they won't be able to afford them anyway. And the players that will arrive to replace the ones who leave would not have the same skill level, as the club cannot attract top players while being in the championship with no European football to compete in. Moreover, they will not be able to afford the salaries that the top players will demand either. This brings us to our next point, the financial hardships that the club will face. Going from the Premier League to the Championship will result in a massive loss in viewership, because a Spurs versus Preston game would not achieve anywhere near the amount of viewers a Spurs versus Man City game would get. Less viewers means less exposure, hence, no more high value sponsorship deals. Existing sponsors like Nike and AIA would most certainly terminate their contracts or at least revise the terms at a much lesser amount. Ticket prices would be slashed by half because fans will simply not pay the current exorbitant prices to watch a championship game. This will ultimately result in a massive fall in matchday revenue, which in turn will make maintaining their new $1 billion ultra modern stadium largely unsustainable. This stadium was never built with the intention to host championship matches. In fact, will not be the case next season. And since Tottenham will not be competing in the Champions League, they will miss out on the broadcasting revenue from the Champions League, putting a further impact on their finances. Moreover, getting relegated would result in them losing out on the massive Premier League broadcast revenue, which will drop sharply in the Championship. Even with parachute payments, it will not be enough to sustain the overhead expenses that a club like Tottenham would have. But money is not the only problem. From being considered among the big six to getting relegated to the championship will result in a loss of respect and stability. Without any high profile league fixtures, Tottenham will be struggling to find relevance. They will not just be fighting to getting promoted back to the Premier League, but also fight for relevance. fight to retain their global viewership and fan base. And it is not just Spurs that get affected by a possible relegation. Other teams lose an important fixture as well. For example, significant Premier League fixtures like the North London Derby would not take place, which will affect Arsenal as well, as they too would miss out on a global spectacle and the financial gain from this historic fixture. Other high profile fixtures like a Spurs vs Chelsea game or a Spurs vs Man City game also get erased out of the calendar in case of a Spurs relegation. And even the Premier League as a whole will miss out on a major chunk of global viewership, as the fans who tune in for Tottenham games will now be diverted to the Championship. Overall, it's a lose-lose situation for the club, the rival clubs, and the Premier League. People might think that relegation might not be the worst thing. The current players would leave and the club gets a reset and starts fresh and then gets promoted the next season. But that is not as easy as it seems to be. Once you go down, coming back up is quite the hassle. As we already mentioned, the current lot of players leave and the new players that arrive are not as good as the players that just left. Now mix that with the financial constraints, the overhead costs and the pressure of expectations. To sum it up, if Tottenham do get relegated, the fight to get promoted back to top tier football will be extremely difficult. If you have watched the video this far, please take some time to like the video, share it with your fellow football enthusiasts, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. We will be back with another video really soon. Until then, take care and bye bye.